It's more like we collect data that we're going to use during the season, and we try to create a dashboard of the player. And with that dashboard, we use it during the season to see if a light pops up.
I'm here today in the Montreal Canadiens gym with strength and conditioning coach Pierre Allard. Pierre, first and foremost, I got to ask you about what fans want to know most. Why do players hate that first day of training camp that much?
Well, for them, it's more like a testing day. It's like going to school and it's your final exam. They see it a little bit that way, but it evolved a lot during the past years. And what we're trying to see with the players more now, we're doing a monitoring on the players and see their peak power. The peak power, their cardio. It's more like we collect data that we're going to use during the season, and we try to create a dashboard of the player. And with that dashboard, we use it during the season to see if a light pops up, something pops up like we need to get attention on certain aspect of the sport. But it's not like in the past where sometimes we think that we use the players as guinea pig to make experimentation and stuff like that. It's more, we use the data more for return to play and for assessing during the season the fatigue.
So players nowadays use the off season to get better, to improve on certain things. With such a busy schedule, traveling, managing energy, what is the role of the strength and conditioning coach in season for training and workouts?
Well, it's a good challenge because there's many realities within players. The first, you get players that play a lot of minutes, so it's more like about managing the fatigue with them. Players that play a little bit less, we try to push them a little bit more, so when the coach asks them to play a little bit more, they're ready for that, physically ready for that. And you get players that don't play games or don't play that many minutes, so we need to push them even further and doing more things with them in the gym. So it's all related to the same thing. Players need to be able to play like a 16, 18 minutes. I want them to be ready to do that.
So rarely in season will you see a big group intense workout?
No, it's really rare because when you manage like a whole group, it's more about time managing because you get so many players around. I like to work with the little groups so we can individualize the training with them.
You've touched a little bit on return to play aspect. Injuries in the NHL are a huge factor. They make a big difference between wins and losses. You are involved in the return to play. How important is your impact, your role into getting these players back?
Well, it's a teamwork with Graham and Vince with the medicals, so we need to communicate and get very good communication together. So first, when the injury happened, we meet all three together with the players and come up with a plan with him. And then the player goes from medical treatment and then slowly come back in the gym and then gets in my hands, and then we start training for a return to play. So we use data that we collect during the training camp, and we use that to make sure they're ready to come back and practice with the team. And my role is to make sure when they jump on the ice with the team, they're 100%.
You get them ready to play. You've talked about how your job has evolved. I find since I retired, it's evolved even more. I couldn't help but notice coming into the dressing room after practices, players wearing a sports shirt, you could call it, and in their back there's a little chip that they've been wearing. What exactly is that for, and how does that help your work with them?
Well, the toughest thing in hockey is to calculate the player load. And there's not that many research that we've seen that been able to calculate that load. And you get a lot of research done on rugby, on football, on soccer, but none in hockey. And recently, the Catapult company came up with an algorithm that we can use and detect movement on the ice. And what it's tough to detect on the ice, it's because it's a gliding sport, so it's really tough to detect movement and to consider what is a movement and what is a stride. And so we, with Catapult, they got involved in the NHL, and now we're able to create a player load that they do during practices and during exhibition games that we were allowed to track. So now we can use those data for return to play, so we know exactly what type of load the player is doing during a hard practice and also during a game. So we use that to take better decision. It's not like one tool; it's a better decision as a group to take. And also, we going to use the data when we track fatigue and acute and chronic fatigue during the season.
Off season, in season, testing, collecting data. Sports science now is involved in your job. What is the biggest challenge for Pierre Allard in the 2016-2017 NHL?
Well, it's to take all those information and try to make sense to me, because it's a long season, it's a marathon, and you want to make sure like the players are ready to play every night. But in order to do that, you gotta be able to take good decision based on data that you collect. So it's making the difference between noise and signal. So try to collect the signals and see if the players is tired or not. So that's the biggest challenge.
Pierre Allard, thank you so much.
Thank you.